Welcome back to another episode of the Grassroots Tennis Podcast, a platform created to entertain, educate, and grow the game of tennis. My friends call me Ship, but this show isn't about me. We will be bringing you interviews with coaches, community leaders, and players, along with updates about tennis happening around the world. Tennis is a culture, and we are all writing tennis history together. Today, I am here with Diego Moyano. Diego is a former player, now coach, originally from Argentina. He, as a player, made it all the way to 130 in the world, ATP career high. And over the past, he'd have to tell you how many years that he's been coaching. He's had the opportunity between his decade-long stint coaching and doing player development through the USTA. He's had the opportunity to work with a lot of really top names in their young years. Post working for the USTA, he had a great run coaching Kevin Anderson here towards the end of Kevin Anderson's career, and most recently had just stopped working with Coco Gauff. Diego, thanks for coming on the pod.
How are you? Thanks for having me, and thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I love to talk tennis, and here we are. So nice to meet you, and so again, very, very happy to be talking with you.
Yes, and we're so glad that you're here. I think this is a conversation that a lot of people are going to be able to benefit from. I love that, you're someone that you can give insight both from the mind of someone who's kind of done it. You've had that grind, you've played.
Sure.
That's okay. You've played and you've made it all the way, to 130 in the world, which is, no slouch by any means. That's if you're ranked, if you're the 130th best basketball player in the world, you're making millions of dollars. But that's a different story. Don't get me started on that. But between that and now, obviously, you've been coaching for a long time. I love that you're going to be able to kind of give us a little bit of insight on both sides of the coin there. And usually I have some questions that I open with, but I kind of want to go a different route with you. And I would like to ask you first, did you always know you wanted to coach?
No. So this I never thought about my post career when I was playing. I love the circuit. I love to play, travel. I really enjoy everything out there. So never thought about my post career until basically the end, when I got injured at 31 years old, and then as I was thinking about retiring the last year, so it was kind of I got my low back got injured. I started thinking about, okay, well, I should I retire it? My second kid was born in 2005, so I was kind of start thinking about first if I wanted to continue, but at that time with two kids, stop 1 year, kind of reset, get kind of get surgery, come back. And I was like, okay, well, next time, if my back still bother me, I'm gonna stop. So that's what I did. I stopped, and then when I stopped, I start thinking, okay, well, what next? And so that on the what next, and my philosophy, on my life philosophy, is do whatever you want to do it, but do it 100%. So try to be the best at what you do. And so then I went to obviously say, okay, well, I can explore coaching. So I went into coaching, and then I faced the other decision, which is, okay, now I'm going to try coaching, but what kind of coaching? Because I play all my life since I was 7 years old. So I'm 41 years in tennis. And I know that when you go into coaching, there's different areas of coaching that are really, really important. So you can be a coach that worked, a travel coach for the ATP or WTA players, traveling and work on the big events, and maybe the people see those coaches a little bit more. You can be a developmental coach that work with kids at 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. You can be a transition coach. You can be a director of a tennis academy. You can be a pro that works at and give private lessons. You can do a kind of a teacher, teaching kids at 5, 6, 7 years old, putting the first time the racket in their hands. So what kind of coach teacher you want to be? So in September I stopped. In November, so I took 2 months. In November, I have a proposal to join Guillermo Coria's team, and so that's what I did. So I kind of in between, I start coaching and working with some players, some top 100 players, until I joined Guillermo Coria. At that time, he was number 5 in the world, and kind of I start liking. And I, again, based on my philosophy, rule number 1 is not because you play tennis, now you becoming a coach. So now I went through a process of, okay, what my preparation to be the best coach that I can be. I knew that to be the best coach that I can be, not only I have to prepare myself on different areas, but also I wanted to be a complete coach, meaning I have to go through the developmental process. I had to be teaching kids. I had to be on a transition circuit and coach top players. And if you look at my background, I kind of did all of that. So
I've seen it.
At 48 years old, I kind of I can say, well, I work with 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, all the way until players that actually retired with me. So or they did the last few tournaments with me. So that's kind of the story about me going into coaching.
Yeah, and I think thanks to social media, I've been following for a while, and kind of your journey, I feel like, is one that's been well documented, either from your own posts, kind of following your adventures, or the posts on stories of some of those young guys you used to coach, whether it was Tommy Paul and Riley Opelka and Taylor Fritz and Francis Tiafoe. Kind of when that group was all coming through and they were very young.
Well, I coach Tommy for 8 years.
Yes.
Riley Opelka for 7 years and a half. Taylor Fritz for 4 years and a half, and Francis Tiafoe for 4 years. So a long time with all that group. Plus Alex Rybakov that went to college, Ty Kwiatkowski. I mean, if you look at right now, well, you see the new generation, but 2 years ago, if you went through the American ranking, only the 2 players that I spent the least amount or maybe didn't coach was they were John Isner and Brooksby, that I have a very good relation, but I haven't coached. All the other Americans, I've been coaching them.
As far as I knew, from that entire generation that kind of came through and that kind of broke into the top 100, or even I think Rybakov's a great player. He struggled with some injuries. There's been a lot of guys, that were trying to make an addition to those, those guys that have kind of established themselves on tour. I think the only other name that I was familiar with that I don't think but I'm not sure, but did you ever work with Jared Donaldson at all?
Yeah. We
got to work with Jared.
Not directly, but I spent weeks with him when he was young, and then he went to Argentina, and he was doing he was training with us here, and I knew the coach in Argentina, and we had a very good relation.
Okay. Because I knew he had went overseas and for a little bit, and then he came back. And so timeline wise, I wasn't sure exactly how that worked. But yeah, that whole group coming through, I knew that they had came through with you. I think a really good, something as a coach that obviously you can hang your hat on. Obviously, every player I feel like that I've seen that you've worked with has improved. And I think sometimes, we as people, we have to keep that growth mindset and realize, whether you're coming in working with Kevin Anderson late in his career or you're working with someone, 13, 14, 15 years old, we can always get better. What do you feel like, when you're coaching, what part of your philosophy or what is something that you're trying to implement when you first come onto a team with a new player? Like what do you lay down first? What are kind of your big keys or big targets?
That's a great question, and I'm gonna kind of answer that question in two, because you say something very very good just before the question was, on my philosophy. Every time, if even if the pure developmental pathway kind of is from, let's say, 11, 12 to 21, let's put it kind of this is the pure developmental. You keep improving, you keep develop your mindset, your tennis and everything. You go more after the 21, 22, 23, you go more into result. It's more result oriented, but you still develop your game. So as a coach, first, and this is I separate a little bit the question. When you work with kids, and I tell the parents or even the coaches, I say the most important is the level. So we need to focus. The kids, they can improve by playing tournaments, by playing with older kids. Is a natural development. As a coach, my focus is on the content. So sometimes the content, when the players are improving, you can say, or you can explain the improvement, but sometimes they're not linked on the results. Sometimes everything is going the right way, the pathway is perfect, but the results are not there until the players connect all the dots and they start making results. So and here doesn't matter. So now I answer directly the question. When I start working with a player, so first things, I evaluate everything, and knowing that player, what are the areas that I can get that player better. So, and then I do my developmental plan, the areas of focus I explain, and I go through my plan of how to get that player better, and slowly working toward the things that I think that player can be better. So I prioritize try to understand the game style, prioritize the weapons, how that player is going to win matches, and then what are the things, that weakness that player can get hurt. And then from there, with the developmental plan, knowing that every day you're going to work, and if you put more work here, you have to take it somewhere, because the players, they cannot work 24 hours per day. They have certain amount of time that they can be focused, the physical abilities, they can be present in practice for 2, 3, 4 hours max. So then you have to see how you prioritize the percentage of the areas that you need to work on.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. I think two things that I'm hearing that I think people really need to take away from that. Maybe someone's listening to this that's looking for a coach, or maybe someone that's listening to this is a coach. One of the things that I'm hearing you say is obviously you're an expert communicator. You're making a plan, but you're communicating that plan, and the player is aware of the plan. Because if they're not accepting the plan, you guys got to be on the same page to get where you want to go. So I love that communication piece. I think the second thing that people should be looking for, or when they're as a coach, if they're trying to improve as a coach, or when people are looking for a coach they want to work with, the fact that you're evaluating, but then obviously you've proven over time, you can work with players who play more than one game style. And I think that is huge when it comes to maximizing people's potential. And so, I love, every piece of that. Whenever when you make that plan, I mean, do you physically have that on paper for them? Bullet point, boom, 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 boom. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
100%. So there's a couple of things. One, I mentioned about the preparation as a coach. one of the number one, if a young coach is coming to me and say, "Oh, how I can get better," one of the first thing that my advice will be communication. Communication. You need to be able to communicate not only with the players that you feel good with, but with every single player, with every single style, every single personality, and that requires a lot of time to understand how to get deep in every single player. So that's not easy to do it, but that's required a lot of preparation. So that's one, because you can have a unbelievable knowledge, but if you cannot communicate that, uh, doesn't go. And not only communicate, but also the way that the player receive it. So that number one rule in communication is not about how you say it, is about how they receive it. So then you have to be able to say it the way that they receive it, the right way they understand, and open up the door. For me, every player, even 11, 12, 13, doesn't matter the age, is an open communication. I work by understanding. So I always say I work by understanding. What that means, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna explain every single step, and I'm gonna when I evaluate the player, I put everything on paper, and I go through that process. So this is how we're gonna do it, and then we have the areas of focus and say, because you can know, even if you work on general idea, it's impossible to work every day on everything. So the player need to be responsible of the progression. So you need to give, and you need to connect with the player, and have the player have the ownership on their own career. Doesn't matter the age, can be 11, 12, 13, 14, but slowly. No, you're not gonna treat the same way a kid that is 11 or 12 that somebody that is 32. But on the process, on the pathway, yes, on the pathway, you creating, and you trying to give more ownership, more responsibility to the player, for them to understand, like how the process and what are the things that they need to do. And so that's very important. Communicating with, not only with the player, but with the whole team, putting in place a developmental plan that everybody can go and read it. Sometimes talking with the coaches, the process when you develop somebody at 12, is very unlikely that you're gonna take that kid and go 22 years with the same player. So right. You're gonna develop. It takes, for example, I was saying with Tommy 8 years, with Riley 7 years and a half. Then the process continue, and so that developmental plan is a piece of that part of the process, and that developmental plan goes to the next coach and the next process, and they read it and say, okay, he been doing that. That's what he has already. And now we go into the next chapter of your career, where we're gonna focus on this, and the process continue. That's how the full developmental side is.
I think for those people who are, listening to this, if maybe if you have a coach that you're working with and you've been working with for a while, if you really have goals, or you want to have goals with tennis, one of the things that you can take from this is have that conversation with your coach. Ask them, what do you see? What type of player do you see me as? Where are we headed? Or, ask them kind of what the plan is. And then from there, you can see if your own goals match up with what your coach sees you being as a player. And I think that can help you to maybe help your coach to plan your lessons better, but then also for you to understand the things you're working on with your coach. That deeper understanding is going to lead to more growth, both mentally and then physically in your skills. So I love all of that. Diego, my question for you, obviously someone who's an expert now in creating these developmental plans, you've worked with players like Sloane Stephens and Coco Gauff on the women's side, and then obviously all of these great players on the men's side as well. Do your developmental plans change a lot depending upon whether you're working with a female tennis player or a male tennis player? Are you coaching them differently. Obviously, I expect the communication piece and the plan piece and all that to be, very open communication. All of that's the same. But as you're developing those players, specifically like you got them when they were pretty young, is the focus different?
Uh, Great question. No, the main focus about, remember that I mentioned about the content. So
Right.
talking with Sloan, Kevin, Tommy, you name, doesn't matter. The focus is not, this is what you need to be done. This is what we need to improve. Those things that we need to maximize. This is your game. This is my vision.
Mhm.
What about that vision? So it's not, this is not different, because the thing that you need to do with Coco, same thing. I mean, there's certain thing, the pathway, the process of how we get that better, how you is what we're gonna be working 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Maybe it's not the ultimate version. The ultimate version, we're gonna see it in 3 years from now. So that's not, then how you communicating and how you apply that plan to the player, that's, yes, it's different. You
Okay,
cannot be
so
talking, for example, I always say, so I was coaching moments that I was coaching, for example, Tommy, Riley, Francis, and Taylor. And I was 2 hours with one-on-one. That player left, the next player comes, and you have to change the drills, the vocabulary, the tone of your voice, the message, the game style. So everything. So you come in with last year or 2 years ago. So last year I was with Coco one-on-one, so that's easy. But for example, 2 years ago I was with Ayla Tomjanovic, with Kevin Anderson, and with Sloane Stevens. So one player left. You turn your head and you have to be switching completely, but the style is different, the vocabulary is different, the topics that they like to talk is different. So you need to change, and it's not about you. I always say it's not about the coach, it's about the player. So I'm here to help the player, not them to work the way that I want. No, this is I'm here to help and to maximize that player. And you have to be able to kind of change, switch, and coach differently. So right now I'm coaching different kids, different ages, right? You have an 11 years old, and you have an 18 years old, and you have a 15 years old, and you have a female 14 years old. And so you have to be like navigating about how you communicate and how to connect with different ages, different vocabulary, different sex. So that's I mean, I love that. That's fantastic for me. But that's very important. The role of a coach is adapting and trying to maximize that player that is in front of you at that moment. So it's not about you. You cannot be coaching the same way everybody. That's impossible and shouldn't happen.
I totally agree, and I love that. I think we've given some great advice to the coaches out there. Let's take a shift and let's talk about kind of the player side of things. With the experience that you've had, obviously not every player is the same, but maybe, a junior player that their goal, or they're listening to this because they're trying to get better. Obviously anyone who's, young and taking the time to listen to a tennis podcast, they have a hunger for the game and they want to get better, I would think. So what would you tell a junior tennis player that, they want to improve and they want to see themselves having more success, that elite junior tennis player or a junior tennis player that's putting in a lot of hard work? What do you feel like their focus should be on?
Great question. So the first thing that I will advise a young tennis player will be organize the structure. So you want to get better. All right. So organize first things. What are your long-term goals? Real, the honest long-term goals, the medium-term goal, and the short-term goals. That's how we start. Then after that, depending on the goals, you're gonna build your structure. What is your structure? So where are you gonna train? that goal, what do you need to reach those goals? So that you need that structure. All right. So then you need a base where you train. You need a coach that, or where you're gonna receive the advice from. Who's gonna take the lead on even if you are responsible of your career, somebody, you have to trust somebody that is taking the lead to teach you how to improve, right? The content.
Right.
So who is gonna be that person, or who is gonna be that team? Somebody has to lead the ship, and somebody has to kind of do the day by day. That's one. The strength conditioning. What are the areas that you need to improve? So the strength conditioning, and who's going to be taking care of your body. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be every day, because you say, well, but that's require a lot of money. No. Then you go, okay, what is the minimum that I can do with the money that I have? So it's not, and then when you have the structure, now build a plan, a developmental plan. You should have a developmental plan, like we talked already, on the tennis side, on the fitness side, and you need to have a plan for your body. So like this, you're not catching up on the injuries, and you are ahead of the curve. So the idea is, okay, well, if I know that my shoulder is weak, my elbow is weak, or my hip are weak, or my whatever it is, I'm work every day to get that better, and not waiting to have the injury to start the rehab and then catching up. So that's on the body side. On the fitness, so if I set up already my goals, okay, well, if my goal is not be, I don't know, playing Grand Slam juniors, all right, so what that require to play a Grand Slam juniors and then to be a champion, NCAA champion, for example, afterwards? Well, this is what required. This is what the pathway. This is where I am as an athlete right now, and this is what requires. I need to get faster. So that's, we build a plan. How am I gonna get there? And on the same thing on the tennis side. So the structure, the goals, the structure, the plan, and then the honesty and the work ethic to actually do it every day. So those are the things. So the first thing, again, just to if I see a player that is coming, or the parents that are coming, hey, what do you see? Can you check on my kid? Can you see my player? That I do a lot of evaluation, and the parents are asking me that question. So how you see him? Do you see or her? And I ask, what are your goals? Let's see what are your goals, because I need to compare with something. One, what is the structure? Where you coming from? What is your structure? How you train? What are so and then from there is, you actually do it. So now I go and I check on the players. I see what I see, and I see if they have. I am in 2 minutes. It takes me 5 minutes to see what the volume is, how the technical aspects are, and so then I can say, okay, well, if I see a lot of flows, I say, well, okay, you've been practicing and you have those goals. What happened that the improvement is not there? So that will be my first kind of advice, if it's.
No, I love that. I think from the things that I'm hearing there's a lot of pieces that people can take and kind of implement or seek out information right now, just after hearing that. My follow-up question to that would be, obviously, depending on what your focus is with that player, things can change. But, whether it's a player working with their coach, or a player, maybe just going out and practicing with another player, or, a player working independently, what are the things that you feel like are a staple, or things that are always a part of, a really good practice session? What does a great practice session look like? What does a practice session need to have for it to be quality? Like from beginning to end, what all needs to be a part of that?
So, first thing I think, so first, the respect. So everything starts with respect. So one, everybody on time and everybody prepared. So without that, I feel that if we not respecting each other times and we not prepare, coach or player, everybody, so then we cannot start. That's the first things to have a quality practice. Second, objective. When I say coach has to be prepared, the coach has to have an idea and follow up. We already assuming that we already have a developmental plan and the areas of focus. The practice session should match those things. I cannot come to a practice. It doesn't matter if I coach, and I was talking with my team about that. It doesn't matter if I coach, if I do a clinic with the ladies in the morning, a team 2B in the mornings on Tuesday morning, or if I coach a professional player, I cannot come to a practice without any plan and just go there and hit balls. You should have, as a coach, you should have a plan, whatever is the plan, and whatever match with the plan that you have for that team, for that player, for that group. So that's very important. So now, respect, time, preparation linked to the developmental plan and the areas of focus. First thing first. Second, you have two parallel lines. One is the long-term developmental plan, my vision about that player. So we're going to work every day, we're going to work on that line. But there's another parallel line that I'm going to listen to the player. That is the player, while you're working on the long-term plan, regardless of the age, the player is playing in 2 weeks, in 1 week, in 3 months, in a month. So you need to follow the periodization plan, and you need to listen to the player. The player is telling you, even if you work on long-term things, and the player is coming to you and is saying, look, I'm not feeling my backhand. I'm serving really bad. So you need to hear, say, okay, I got you. I would like to work. So my first question before starting, I always to any player, every player, do you have something that you would like to work today?
I ask people that all the time. It's so important. It's so important.
Listen to the player, because it's very important to have how you feel is something that you want to include on this practice beside my plan.
And Diego, I'm going to butt in really quick because I think people really need to hear it, and they need to make sure that they take that and they put that in their back pocket. If you show up to coach somebody, or someone shows up for a lesson, if you're a player showing up for a lesson, you need to communicate and be vocal and open those communication lines. You know, if you're working with a player and all of a sudden they, you're focused, you're saying you're working with a 14-year-old, and in the back of your mind, like, I'm trying to create that college player, and I'm focused on that long-term goal, and I'm doing all these drills I plan focused on the long-term goal. And then that player leaves. We never had the conversation. They say, yeah, I hit some balls yesterday and I was double faulting like crazy. I can't make a serve. You failed because you've left that lesson with your player not confident and not addressing something that's a problem right now. It's almost like, it's not the same as having an injury, but it's like a mental injury. It's like this hurdle that you have to get back over before you can go back to getting on, like you said, those parallel lines of getting on that top line of working back towards that long-term player if you don't address this right here. And I think what you said is perfect.
100%, at least to have that feeling, that connection with the player, saying, I hear you. It's okay. Maybe you can say, look, yesterday I was double faulting like crazy. I say, okay, great. Why? Well, I think, okay, look, it's not on the plan today, but tomorrow, if you come back, or maybe we can include it at the end of the practice, or tomorrow when we come, first things, we're going to work on the serve. So the player is saying, okay, is listen to me. I'm comfortable because my feedback is taken care. That's again, is part of the communication. So it's important that when you open the communication, again, regardless of the level or the age, that open communication about what you think, and you understand the two parallel lines, I think is really, really important.
Oh yeah, no, I think that's huge. And to your point, any coach that's listening to this, if they leave this and they don't start asking players at the beginning of all their lessons or their groups, is there anything that you're really wanting to work on? It's so easy sometimes to make those players happy. It's like as you're doing the things you've already planned, you make a little audible, and you throw in a drill, that last 10 minutes so they can leave saying, hey, I worked on that today. It feels a little better now. Sometimes it's just in their head and they need to hit a few extra
Correct.
backhands or they need to hit a few extra volleys or whatever it might be. And, reinstilling that confidence in that player, that in itself is a skill. And so
Uh,
you're 100%, you nailed it, right on the head. Um,
yeah,
I'm going to,
and then sorry, I continue to answer the question. So
yeah,
then once we do that, then the work ethic, obviously,
huge.
I mean,
Yeah,
is the player has to give me the 100% of what they have that day.
right.
So I always explain, because when you work with a kid and they're tired or they had a long day at school, they had tests, and, and they say, well, but I don't have my 100%. No, no, no. I'm not asking your 100%. I'm asking your 100% of today.
Today.
Whatever you have today, give me everything. And that's why I'm not, me personally, I don't like to work by time. I work by training session.
Hmm.
It goes from here to here, and because I don't know how much I can squeeze that player.
Right.
And then so when we have, so we talk about all the process, we talk about the actual the work ethic and the commitment. So that's kind of that's what we like the communication. We talk about the communication, feedback, accepting feedback. That will be kind of on a quality session. I'm not going to tell you that the quality session is rated on how well the player played. Yes, you want that. That's the dream of every coach. Have everything else plus the player playing unbelievable. Yeah, but it's not. You cannot rate a session based on that.
Right.
You rate on the other aspect.
And I think for maybe those coaches who are trying to improve, their communication, a trick that I always use when I'm not happy with maybe the intensity that a player is bringing or the focus that a player is bringing, I like to stop what we're doing and I'll just ask them, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how hard are you working right now? Or if it's the focus, on a scale of 1 to 10, how focused are you right now? If they say, oh, I don't know, it's like, no, give me a number. What do you think? And they'll say a 4 and then a great follow-up. Why? Something might be bothering them. Or if it's an intensity thing on a scale of 1 to 10, and they say 7, it's like, well, can you give me a 10? And if they say yes, you would ask them and say, well, what does a 10 look like? Have them list those things to you that are a 10 level effort, so that way they've had the ability to really, to digest that information in themselves, and they'll go, oh yeah, I really am not moving my feet that hard. I really do, have lazy feet, or
And
I'm not doing what I need to do. And then all of a sudden you'll see that jump and you'll get more out of that session.
100%. And this is what we talk on the beginning of the conversation: is having the player be responsible,
Right.
accountable, and responsible. So that's the whole thing. It's not you telling the player; is by asking questions,
Ask good questions.
make the player think and take responsibility of the training session, the practice, the career, their developmental plan, and everything. So you include the player and you ask him, by exactly like you say, you ask him question, and then from there you let the player kind of regroup, think, answer, and many times they answer their own question. And you see, like you say, you see that the intensity ramp up, you see the responsibility, you see the accountability ramp up. So, and at the same time, the last part of that quality session is no overcoaching. I'm big on that. I don't like the overcoaching. I think our job as adults, as tutor, as coaches, is teaching the player to think by asking questions, but you need the player to think. You cannot be telling every time the player that is missing one ball, you correct the player and you tell them what to do, and you tell, because that you're not creating an independent problem solver.
Right.
So
I just finished a lesson right before this, Diego.
on.
I just finished a lesson right before this. I was working with a boy, solid, for his age, 14, pretty athletic. And he'd taken a little time off and he's come back and he's working hard, getting ready kind of for summer. And he's struggling with his backhand. And, it kept happening. And instead of just fixing it for him, I kept asking, why do you think you missed that ball? Why do you think your backhand you're dumping so many in the net? And then all of a sudden he is adjusting and I let him go for a while. It's like, why do you think you're missing long? And, he'd say this or say that. And finally, if something wasn't, completely getting, I might stop, but he was able to fix it himself. But he needed to stop and think instead of just wasting reps. So I'd stop, ask a question. He makes an adjustment because I've asked a question, and then we keep going. And I, like you said, asking good questions, letting them take accountability. And and to your point, I think that you got there without exactly saying it, but it's okay with that whole accountability piece for these players to leave practice not just physically tired, but mentally tired.
Mentally tired. Yeah, I mean, one of my my mentor, Jose Gueras, used to tell me all the time, I cannot. His word was that I cannot coach a player for more than 3 weeks straight every day, right? And I was like, why? He said, because after 3 weeks, he is completely taxed. So he's done mentally and physically, and I'm done too, because his whole thing. And then I got it, and I really improved my coaching ability back on the days, and in terms of his point was, I'm paying attention on every single detail. I'm on the player asking question, why, in the intention, everything on every single shot and every single move. So after 3 weeks, we are done. The player is really tired, is ready to go and compete, and I'm really tired. I need a week off to reset myself and and rest. And kind of he was a little bit joking, but very serious about that. And it is how it is. The player, not when we're talking about the intensity, is not just physical, moving your feet. Is here is the most important is be present and very intense on the mental side to make those corrections. Again, regardless the level of the player, can be an 80 years old lady that is coming for a lesson, or a 14 years old, or a pro. Can be Kevin Anderson, can be Coco Gauff. It doesn't matter. The mental intensity is the most important. Be present and try to do the correction needed to keep improving.
When I first start working with young players, and I think something that coaches, they try to put in perspective, we try to set goals, we talk about it, even if that goal is outlandish, I think it's okay for young people to dream. And then over time, you have real conversations about like, well, with the effort you're putting in, this is the track you're actually on. Being honest and open is always important. But one of the first things I always tell people is, hey, I just need you to get this much. I need you to get this much better today. And that comes with purposeful practice. And so this is what we're focused on. And for the entire lesson today, no matter what we're working on, this is your focus. And I think that always makes a difference, because I need you to leave, this much better. It's a big part of that communication piece.
Exactly. Is kind of the analogy that I'm using is you building a house, and you put a brick in your house every single day. The days that you feel good, you may put 10 bricks, 3 bricks, 15 bricks. But the days that you're not feeling it, at least you have to put a brick on your wall. And something that many players, parents, they do is they, at some point, they kick in the wall. They build in the wall, they kick in the wall, they destroy the wall, and they want to reset and start building again. No, you never, you don't do that. You build in a house, a solid house, and always you put a brick. Well, you can fix things, but you never kick the wall, destroy the wall, and reset, because that never takes you up there. It's always, you start always from the base. So at some point, everything that you do is part of your development, So it's always, you keep in here at least one brick. The days that you feel good, you put 10 bricks, 15 bricks, but at least one brick toward your building your house.
Fun question for you. On a day when a player's really not feeling it, maybe they don't have the motivation, their body hurts, and it's okay to take breaks. That's not the point I'm trying to make, but to rest when you and listen to your body. But what I'm trying to say is on a day when maybe mentally they're just not completely feeling it, what do you feel like is the best way or maybe the easiest way, even on a day when they're not feeling it, to at least add one more brick still? What would you say for that player on a day that just they're not feeling it? How can they still add that brick?
So again, we go back to the first thing. Those days, first, the open communication. So the first thing is when we talk about how you feel and what you've been working. No, I really don't feel it. I don't want to train, and I'm tired, whatever it is. I say, okay, I feel you. So I go, why? What is anything, any problem, anything that I can help you? And no, I don't really feel it. I don't want, whatever it is. Okay, so I got you. So first, my standards doesn't let me negotiate the intensity. So we can negotiate the time, not the intensity. No, my standard doesn't drop. So those days, I'm gonna keep asking for a high standards. We can negotiate. I wanted to work on serve, backhand, and forehand volley. All right, you're not feeling it. All right, what are the things that you feel that you can give me today? Well, I don't want to serve today because my shoulder hurt and whatever. All right, so let's take the serve and let's take the volley. Don't worry about it. The backhand, yes. All right, perfect. So now let's work on the backhand. This is what I want to do. Are you okay? But non-negotiable. So we negotiating about. I understand. I feel that's okay. At some point, if we practice 10 times and you come in like this 8 times, now that's not acceptable. But every 10 practices, you have 1 or 2 practices like that. I can feed you. I got it. Now, asking the question of why, how you can help, but then you negotiating the time. That's okay to negotiate the time. Not always. We don't want, and this is every human being. You're not able to train or to give 100% for 10 hours or 4 hours or 5 hours every single day. But I'm not negotiating the quality at all. The quality is there. And I'm going to be on you. If we train, instead of training 2 hours, we train 1 hour 15. I'm going to be on you for 1 hour 15. That's not negotiating. The standards doesn't drop. Now, the time, and maybe we take the backhand off, we work on the serve, or vice versa. That's okay. You listen to the player and you readapt a little bit the practice. So that's kind of, is in a bad mood. All right. So if I wanted to, let's say, play points, is bad, didn't sleep well, maybe we're not playing points. Maybe we work on something else, but the quality doesn't drop. I don't care. I mean, the plan was playing points today or playing a match. We're not playing a match, but the quality doesn't drop.
Quality.
So that's huge. Again, regardless the level, regardless the age, the quality never drops. If you need to start negotiating the quality, the coach is not doing a great job.
Right. Or maybe a different conversation needs to be had in general. If you're constantly having to negotiate that part of it, we need to maybe have a different talk.
Correct.
And just another thing I want to throw on there, because I think it's an underrated thing, and people need to hear this from people other than their own coach. But if you have a day where it's like, hey, I can't be on the court today, you can still take care of that house you're building by, hey, you know what? My arm's kind of been hurting. Ice your arm, ice your shoulder, get on the ground, stretch, take care of your body. There are things you can be doing when you're not on the court to make sure that, you're not going to end up halting, putting those bricks on that house the next day. But if you allow your body to break down, or you're not taking care of yourself, all of a sudden we're halting production. The construction crew is all home because you've run out of money or run out of time or run out of something because you're injured.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself and use that time wisely. Everybody has the ability to do that, and it is always worthwhile. I just wanted to throw that on the end of there because I don't think that players hear that enough.
No,
So,
you nailed it. That's very important. You can work on visualization.
yes,
You can work on taking care of your body. You can not playing tennis, but go to the gym, doing some fitness session. Watch tennis. Watch a video that you have from your matches, or watch a match, a different
yeah,
match, for example, on TV. Right now we have a lot of matches, so watch a match. Not right questions for your coach the next day. So those things are like, I mean, not always you can hit. Sometimes you hurt, but doesn't you like you nail it. You have to always put a brick on your house.
yes. I want to pivot this conversation just because I feel like you have, being someone that's been coaching for so long, but also played at a high level, but also the fact that, you didn't grow up in the United States, correct?
Yeah.
So you have a different perspective. I would like to know from what you see, whether it's with the USTA in comparison to what they're doing in Argentina, or maybe what you see at the college tennis level, or what you're seeing right now at the pro level, structurally, whether it's juniors, college level, or at the pro level, or is there anything you would like to see change?
So I'm telling you a little bit about my background. Until 14 years old, I live in Argentina. Then my parents got in bankrupt and was a big economic crisis in Argentina. And my only way to keep playing tennis was taking the flight, couple dollars, and go to Europe. I landed in France, where it was a money circuit, very well organized, all year round, and I could pay my bills and keep improving at 14 years old. Play club matches, play tournaments. So that's what I did. And I lived 16 years in France. So all my career as a player, I did it from France. And then I returned at the end of my career. I returned to Argentina. I retired there, and I started my coaching career there. And then after that, so almost 14, 15 years ago, I come to US. So that's kind of my background. So I have the I always say my background in tennis is I have the footwork or everything, like kind of the connection with the making balls, the consistency, and the footwork of the Latins, the Spanish,
Mhm.
Spaniard, and the Argentinians. I have
Yeah,
the technicality of the French, and I have the aggressive game mindset of the Americans.
seen it all and got a little bit
So
of each.
so it's kind of the different cultures, tennis cultures, and
Right.
so basically I would like at the USTA we start doing it. I feel that there's a benefit, and I think US got much better on that, having more tournaments on clay. I think having more tournaments on clay help the developmental pathway of the young kids, and connect more with the footworks and understanding that connection between offense and defense, and stay on the point and have to construct the point. Not all the time, but I'm saying a
Right.
little bit more. You see the Europeans, uh, German, Serbian, French. What happened is they had the clay for 6 months, and then they go into the winter. And on the winter they play this too it's too cold, so they play inside, and they play for 6 months. They play kind of indoor tennis. So then you see guys like Djokovic, Tsitsipas, Agar. They have that mix, that nice mix of
Both.
aggression, but also consistency aligned. So I don't know if that kind of answered that question, or it was more into the strategy of outside tennis.
No, I love that. I think that you answered in saying that you feel like the United States has done a good job of starting to implement more of that clay court play, because that's something that we need to see for like the American tennis. To progress the way that we want it to, you need a little bit of both, like Djokovic has had, like you're kind of saying these top players have had. And I think that I would love to see that even more. I would love to see, with the where is the USTA putting their money? There's definitely opportunities, grants, and organizations, and finding ways to get more clay courts into different facilities. I think that would totally change, player development as a whole across the United States. We can't just have all these clay courts in one place. I think that that would help.
The other thing that is very important for US being a huge country is
Yeah,
having the best player together or players together, not only on the tournaments and like because having the regions are great, but is the country is so big that you need to have not only the players but the coaches together more.
right.
Not easy to do it, but you need to try to do more, because the way that we get better is by talking, by connecting with
Right.
people, by feedback. So we need to talk. So same thing in the circuit. How the ATP or the WTA players or coaches improve so the players by playing each other, but the coaches by talking each other,
Yeah.
feedback, see what the other guy does, asking questions. And so the country is so big that that's one of the things that when I was at the USTA, I was trying. Well, that was one of my first plan, and that's how I start doing it. The playoff with the young kids is we need to have the kids together more,
Yeah.
like playing more, not only on the tournament, not only playing Istanbul or Kalamazoo.
Right.
No, we need the kids to be seeing each other, the top kids
Yeah.
seeing each other every single time.
And I think for people that maybe don't live geographically somewhere that they're close to maybe one of those tennis hotbeds or where all those top players are, because there's intermediate players, advanced players, and obviously there's this elite level that they're relocating for whatever reason. But if you're someone who right now you have a primary coach and you have a plan, but maybe there's not a lot of quality players for you to practice with kind of in your area, maybe outside of your coach, have a conversation with your coach, say, hey, coach, where could I be going to get some extra practice with some more top players? Where do I need to drive and go, even supplementally, to help to raise your level? Because if you have that conversation with your coach, I'm sure your coach will be like, you want to play more tennis and you want me to help you find more people to play with? I'd love to do that. And we could help you do that, because you've got to be around those other top players. So on like even like a micro level, for people listening, you could take a piece of that and say, hey, I've got to find other quality players that I can be playing with, because that's what's going to help me grow. And then go back to your personal coach and be like, hey, when I was playing in this group that I went and I visited and hopped in, or that I've started doing, this is what I've seen and what I need to work with. Have those conversations. And then you guys have the same long term plan, but maybe you're adjusting some of these short term lessons. And then now you're really seeing it because you're really taking ownership for your own development. And I think that's huge. So, Diego, I got to know, you've seen a lot of tennis. Do you have any tennis hot takes? Something that you're really passionate about, like that you'd like to see change in the game, or that you don't think people talk about enough? Something, like I've been talking to people, like I think that I would love to. You might think this is crazy, but the more I think about it, the more I like it. I'd love to see at these pro tournaments. I want to see a backdraw. I want to see them play this out with all the way to third place. I want to see these guys getting more opportunities. When my favorite player loses, like the other day, Tiafo played amazing against Zverev and was a couple tiebreakers short of getting a win. He's learning how to be a better player on clay. And it's like, man, it stinks that his tournament ended right there. Had he played anybody else, he maybe goes a little bit farther in the draw. We won't know. I'd love to see a play. Like, do you have a hot take, something about tennis that you'd like to see be different?
I mean, kind of outside tennis. So the idea of where the tennis has to go in terms of the tennis as a whole. Two things that I've been saying. One, the main thing is with the fans, connecting with the fans. I think tennis has to adapt and let fans go in and out of the courts without
Yes.
stopping. And so we should, that it's impossible to have fans outside of the gate for 10-15 minutes before they can get into the court, or fans that they cannot wear a yellow shirt because it's the player, or fans that they cannot talk with the fans that they're gonna watch. That has to stop, and
Yes.
we should have like the fans should be able to go in and out of the court like that.
It should feel like an event, shouldn't it? They should be able to enjoy it. We want the fans to enjoy it.
That's one thing. And then the other thing is about calendar. I feel that where the tennis has to go, they're trying to do it. Where the tennis has to go is, in my opinion, they shouldn't be more small tournament, and so the people should have kind of like the Formula One is. We should have 15, 16, 17, I don't know the number, 16 Grand Slams where everybody is on. So if you are top whatever 120, you are 1 year qualified for that tour, and you have 14 tournaments, 2 weeks tournament. Everybody plays the 14 tournaments around the globe, and I don't know, 14, 15, 16, whatever the number is, and everybody plays there.
Yeah.
And now the money goes up. So like this, the players that are playing, they have equal condition about hiring coaches, hiring strength conditioning, and all, and the people can follow up when you go to the Formula One and you see, okay, if you qualify that year for a Formula One, there's 10 teams, 20 races, 20 pilots, right?
Yeah.
That's what you see. And now you can follow. Oh, this one won, this one lost. So tennis should be something around there, 180. I don't know the number, but tennis has to be. So two things happen. First, the fans are going to be able to follow what is happening.
Yeah.
And follow their own plays, because the players, they're going to play singles and doubles, and they're going to be watching those players over and over. And right now you see 4 Grand Slam, and then you don't know what happened with the Master 1000, what happened with the 500, why he's not playing the 250s. So you have to, it's a mess, in my opinion. And secondly, is the player has to play so many weeks and so many tournaments that they get injured. So now you have a player that is injured 4 months, 5 months, because he has to play so many matches to get on top, that is not worth it. So like this, everybody plays 14, 15, 16 tournament, no more. Everybody watch every tournament around the globe, and like this, you save the body. You're going to see that player until 40, 42, 44 years old, playing great tennis, and because everything else has improved. So why not go in that way, still playing 35 tournaments? Nobody watches. You see tournaments that has no peoples around. They show it on TV, but they on Monday morning, you see Monday morning, there's nobody there on many tournaments. So why to expose? And you talk with the tournament directors of some of the small tournaments. They say, well, we're losing money. The tournament is going to disappear. So why expose that instead of having a great event, a Grand Slam, 16 Grand Slam, super great event like Roland Garros, like Wimbledon, but 16, and having more fans, TV, and like mixed event like men's and women.
I think that's the coolest version of like a change that I've heard. And I think if we played around with that, it's actually legitimate and would give people a real off season and give the fans what they want. I've not heard anybody put it like that, but I think that makes sense to me. And if they actually played around with that, I think it would be super legit. I love that. That's the first time I've heard that from someone. And Diego, I think that's brilliant. They should put you in charge.
I've been saying that. I mean, I know that there's some ideas to do that, but for some reason I mean, unify the ITF, the ATP, WTA.
That's
That
the issue.
it seems like impossible right now. I don't know
Right.
for
You got to get everybody on the same page, and that's been difficult. That's been one
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
tennis's biggest problems. Diego, I could keep you on here and I could probably talk to you for 10 more hours and never run out of questions, but I really do want to be respectful of your time. So I'm going to ask you two more things super quick and then let you be on your way. And then hopefully, maybe I'll come up with some more questions and we'll do this again sometime because I've really enjoyed it.
For sure,
Um,
for sure.
this really quick, just for me, could you, obviously not someone that you've coached, but I feel like Argentina is, a great tennis country. And like you said France got some up and coming players too, but could you give me your thoughts on seeing Echeverry's run to the final eight at Roland Garros and what you think of that?
Um, so Argentina is a sport country.
Yes, very passionate.
Everybody that plays sport in Argentina, we are Argentinians. The base, Argentinians are very competitive. They
Yeah,
like to win, and they have pride. I mean, they're proud about winning and like be the best on the sports and very sportive. I mean, they're very
yeah,
sport country. So when you see basketball, when you see whatever level Argentina plays, you see that mentality of trying to. So that's one. Tennis is pretty big in Argentina. So
right,
in US you see the difference about the best athletes in US. They not go into tennis as the first place. The best
right,
athletes, they go to American football or they go to basketball first, and
right,
then the rest, right? I mean, other sports. So tennis is not receiving in general. I'm talking in general the top best athlete in US. But Argentina, tennis is big. So Argentina does receive the best athletes in Argentina.
right.
So that makes the Argentinians like a little bit like going into the sport. Basketball, soccer, tennis are the top sports. So that's another piece of the equation.
Hmm.
And then the other part is the Argentinians has been born on clay courts. So when you go to
Yeah,
Argentina, you play with, and this is not many people know, but in Argentina, when you play during the winter, you play all year long outside, like you do in Spain.
yeah.
And in Argentina, you play on clay court and you play with really heavy balls, like very, very heavy and big balls. So if you watch French Open, this year the balls are a little bit like heavier than other years.
People have been talking about it. Yeah,
And yeah, so that's to see the South American players succeed in Paris this year based on that background is not
not a surprise.
it's not a surprise for me. That
Yeah,
could Echeverry is a great player,
very
big,
good.
good game. Cerúndulo is a big, another big,
Yes.
very strong that can keep up with. Not only they play good tennis, but they're strong. They know how to play on clay, and they can be there for 5 hours every day. So that combination makes them in Paris a very dangerous. Now, Cerúndulo has been improved to be very fair. Cerúndulo has been improved tremendously on hardcore. So Echeverry does. So those players, they have a big game and they have been not only playing good on clay, but also on hard. So that's very nice to see.
Yeah, no, I think that Argentina does a great job and has obviously had a lot of really quality players over the years. So I'm glad to. I did not know that background about the balls, but I that actually makes a lot of sense, and I love that little tidbit. My last question that I have for you here is, and then I'll let you go, and then maybe we can do this again sometime because I've enjoyed picking your brain. But who do you feel like needs to come on the Grassroots Tennis podcast? Who do you feel like has knowledge that they need to share? I've been kind of encouraged people saying first and foremost, whoever you say you have to try to help get them on this show. because we need to hear from them, and the tennis world needs to hear their thoughts and hear from them. But I've encouraged people to try to give me two names if they can, but I will take one. You don't have to give me two, but I've been saying like someone that's currently a player. It could be a passionate junior player, a college player, or a pro player that's even low level, and then like a coach or a community leader who's passionate about the game. Even just one name would be great, but I would take two. Who do you think would be someone that the world needs to hear from?
Um, I think I will pick Kevin Anderson's brain for sure.
Yeah.
That he loves to talk about tennis, and that will be one that I feel that is very interesting to talk and pick up his brain about that. I will I will definitely talk with coaches that had experience on both worlds about developmental pathway and professional pathway. I have to think. I have to think. Coach, I really like Paul Anacom, for example.
Oh, yeah, he's great. He's a
I think
great
he's
coach.
great. Great coach. Brad Gilbert, I think he's another
Yeah,
great tennis brain.
great
Um,
brain.
yeah, great tennis brain. And there are few more. Jay Berger, I think
Yeah,
he's a great brain. Andy Brandy,
yeah.
another super
You're
nice.
naming some good names, man. Those are
No,
all
I
solid
mean those
coaches.
are very interesting coaches that you can you. I mean, I don't know if you know Stanford Buster, another coach that had been like coach. He coached Andy Roddick and Marty Fish when they were young. So that kind of coaches I love to hear. I mean, internationally, obviously, Cervera, the coach of Medvedev. I think that's another one that is very interesting to see how he put pieces together with
Yeah.
like at young ages. Um, those will be my brain. Then from Argentina, there are a couple of really good coaches from Argentina that I know that they have a lot of knowledge. So I can go on. I mean, there
Well,
are
we'll talk, and
over
maybe
40
you can
years
help
in
me set.
tennis. As a
You,
player and as a coach, I know everybody. So it's like my list can go on and on.
I'm just a facilitator here that's on a journey, and hopefully the world will of tennis. It's a small world. They'll enjoy these interviews and they'll come along for the ride. But you, sir, are the one with the actual connection. So hopefully, we could talk, and maybe we could get some other great tennis brains on here. I just want to say thank you so much for your time today. And for those people listening, I'm sure that they would love to thank you too. It's been a very enjoyable conversation. Like I said, I could probably, pick another 2 hours worth of questions, but I'm gonna let you get out of here while you still have some brain cells left today, and don't leave too tired. But for
No,
those people,
thank you so much for having me. I really like to talk tennis, and I really appreciate the interview and talking with you. I mean that's awesome, and I'm like you. We can go on and on and on. So for sure we're gonna do it again, and thank you so much for
yes.
having me.
Absolutely. And for those people that are listening to the Grassroots Tennis Podcast, thank you for listening. Share this with somebody who loves tennis. And if you love what we're doing, make sure to subscribe, follow, like, hit those buttons on YouTube and Spotify. And we're currently working on getting this podcast onto all places that you might have your podcast. We are slowly kind of getting everything moved over as there's a little bit of a learning curve here. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Grassroots Tennis Pod, and maybe you have some follow-up questions for Diego. If you do, email us at grassrootstennispod@gmail.com. Maybe we could have another episode where we just mailbag your questions. I would love to do that. I think that would be super fun. Or maybe someone that should be on the Grassroots Tennis Podcast. You can email us at grassrootstennispod@gmail.com. Diego, You rock, my friend. I appreciate you. Thank you and good luck. With everything, I'm sure you've got something else cooking. You're always coaching and doing something new. And I'm excited to see what you do next, my friend. Okay?
All right. Thank you so much, Eve, and have a great day. And thank you again.
Yes. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.